Okay, can everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
Great. And you can stop me at any questions. Any point if you have any questions. It's going to be a casual conversation. If you have any questions, any thoughts that you would like to share, please let me know at any time. So today, the title of my presentation is Intrapreneurship as Far as the Eye Can See. And when Winnie and I were talking about me coming and giving a presentation, the first thing I thought of is, as we think about growth mindset and getting a project to where we want to be, or a business to where we want to be, or even where we want to be in our careers. Some of my own experiences, I was thinking and looking like at a picture like this and just looking as far as I possibly could see at the mountains, beyond the mountains, and really clearing that visual to say, this is where I want to go. This is what I'd like to do. And I'm going to, these are the steps I'm going to take to get there while embracing growth mindset and while embracing collaboration, which I'll share today. And welcome to everybody joining. It's great to see everybody today. Okay. So firstly, like I said, thank you for this opportunity. So I've known Winnie for a couple of years. We were classmates in our MBA experience together. We really bonded and clicked in our discussions. I was too very impressed with Winnie and her drive and entrepreneurship. I had the same sentiments about Winnie. So I was really honored to join Vision to Reality Foundation and share my experiences with the team and learn from all of you as well. Especially because this organization, as she mentioned, is about supporting new business owners. And this is through a global online community. So even though that we're thinking about this in certain areas, maybe a lot of our community members may live in the Vancouver area and British Columbia. I live in Connecticut. We're seeing more of our members across the world and sharing a lot of different experiences globally. So it's really a true honor to be here. So a little bit more about me. Winnie shared this before, and I'm going to share some of my life experience. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I shared some of this with Winnie as well before we got started. So I am from New York City originally. I was born in New York City. I grew up on Long Island. When I was 9 months old, my parents moved to Long Island and then had my brother, and we all lived on Long Island. And throughout my life, I had an affinity for science, which is great. Winnie and I were just talking about this, how we're both from a science background originally. Love science. I always felt very encouraged in science. This was like during the late 80s, 90s, into the early 2000s. I was very passionate about this and went to college and loved science. I majored in biochemistry. I had a plan to go to graduate school. I went, moved upstate New York and went to graduate school at the University of Rochester to study pharmacology. That had its ups and downs. So overall, when I look back on it, it was a positive experience. But that was one of my first times thinking about growth mindset, because I wrote this in the B2RF community. I'd work on an experiment. I would plan something out. It didn't work. And I would say, oh, I would feel very stuck and feel as though I could not move on in my PhD. And as we, continued, I talked to other people. I talked to other classmates who were very encouraging, developing that growth mindset, learning from what didn't work and what potentially could work eventually to receive my PhD. My husband and I then moved to Vermont and did our postdoctoral studies there. And today the topic is intrapreneurship. That was probably my first experience with intrapreneurship. I brought in, working with my mentor, a new project into the lab. And that helped to grow some grant money, as well as bringing in some new employees into the organization to help us grow that type of work. So that was my first experience with intrapreneurship. I was also really interested in teaching. I wanted to work at a university. I brought in that project to a university. Then I started teaching online and started moving into online universities through different leadership and administrative roles. So at that point, I became interested in business because I was leading more diverse teams, not just science teams. I was looking at the business cases of some of the work that we're doing and revenue and some really exciting business work. So I went to get my MBA, just received my MBA last spring, and a dean of the university, and really excited about this path because it is not linear. It had its ups and downs. It went sideways. And I've been within my own organization, but some of these learnings through growth mindset can certainly be applied to so many other areas across business. In addition, I'd love to, if we haven't connected on LinkedIn, I'd love to connect with all of you. I put my LinkedIn in the presentation as well, so feel free to connect with me. Okay, so this is the background of intrapreneurship, and there are a lot of different definitions that I've seen of intrapreneurship, and you may have seen other definitions as well. What I have learned about intrapreneurship over the years is that this is very similar to entrepreneurship, but within your own organization. They are innovators who create or execute a large idea that will help an organization fill a gap, something that they need to do, or it develops another revenue stream within that organization. So it could be a brand new product. It could be a brand new innovation. In some cases, it could be a brand new efficiency that helps to save money for the organization, something very new. But it's an innovative new idea that helps to that organization be successful. And similar to entrepreneurship, you proceed with that entrepreneurship approach in that organization. What I have found from the entrepreneur's journey is that from my perspective, there's a lot of benefits by using growth mindset and visualization, saying I see myself going in this direction, and learning from others. As in any business, in building a business as an entrepreneur or working as an intrapreneur within your own organization, nobody can do the entire project on their own. You have to work with so many different collaborators and so many different experts, and learning from those experts is really beneficial in multiple ways. Okay, so this is just a framework that I put together, and this presentation helped me think about this framework even further as how we can promote intrapreneurship. Firstly, starting with growth mindset. For any entrepreneur or any intrapreneur, having a growth mindset, saying, I know I'm going to learn from experiences. It's not always going to be smooth sailing across the board. There are going to be bumps along the way. There are going to be ups and downs. I'm going to be working with a lot of people who may not agree with me, but I'm going to learn from all of these experiences. Within that, I love to use visualization, and I'm going to share some of my own personal experiences today, seeing where you want to go with that project, seeing the end goal and visualizing that end goal. And all right, great. Okay, so this is the mindset framework that I would use. So thinking as you're approaching any project as an intrapreneur or an entrepreneur, always having that growth mindset and knowing that there are going to be ups and downs, things are going to go sideways, but you're going to overcome that with resiliency and knowing you're going to grow from all of those different experiences, even working with others, your collaborators who are going to give you advice. Visualization within that. So within that growth mindset is visualization. And saying, this is an approach that I like to use and I've used with different projects in the past. I see that end goal. I see where this is going. I visualize it actually happening. And as I'm visualizing it and making it happen, retaining that growth mindset. And then within that, cross-functional collaboration, because to get to that end goal, cross-functional collaboration within an organization is very important. Those collaborators will help get all of the different details and subject matter expertise in place to make that vision a reality. And as you're doing that, continuing on with that vision, that visualization of getting to the end goal and retaining that growth mindset, because working with cross-functional, as we all have worked with cross-functional partners before, there are going to be times where you're going to get feedback. I've gotten feedback and it's up and down. But in the end, it's all worth it. Okay, so I'm going to start with the power of visualization as part of that growth mindset in intrapreneurship. Okay, so next slide, please. Thanks, Winnie. So these are pictures that I've actually taken. These are images that I've actually used in real life when I have found that I am visualizing an end goal of a product as an intrapreneur. So the first picture all the way on the left is one that I call blocked. It was a time where I can see, so I thought in my mind I could see what was going to happen. And then it didn't happen. And I remember that moment of looking outside my window and seeing the trees. And I was trying to look so far beyond that, and I couldn't. I was just seeing this block of trees. And it was such an analogy to what was happening at the moment of the project not moving forward or the work not moving forward. So at that moment, that was my first experience with visualization where I said, okay, I have to overcome this. I have to use growth mindset. I may not have thought growth mindset at the time, but I have to use a positive mindset to say, I can actually overcome this blockage and I can get to where we need to go. So that summer, my family was on vacation. and I was sitting on the deck, and I had this view in the middle picture, where I just kept looking beyond the water, looking beyond the mountains and saying, I know I can get there. I still wasn't there yet. I know that we can get there though. And I'm using this as an analogy. And that third picture, I remember reaching the goal and getting to where I needed to get and launching the product. And then I looked out the window and I can see clearly. We had actually cleared out our backyard. So the picture on the left was our backyard before it was cleared. The picture on the right was the backyard after it was cleared. And such an interesting analogy was that after it was cleared, I was able to see clearly, and the product actually got there. So I really do believe in the power of visualization, making a vision board, having a vision in your mind, saying, I want my business to get to this point. I want my product within an organization to get to this point. And I can actually see that goal and making some sort of visual that's either an analogy or an equivalent of that, and saying, I know I'm going to get there. And that helps that mindset continue on, that growth mindset continue on. At this point, I just want to check to see if there are any questions before we continue.
I have a question for you. So you're visualizing it and you want to unblock the trees. How do you unblock, or what is your strategy to unblock the trees when there are other people that will negatively impact your vision? So
yes.
If you're going to remove those trees, let's say the arborist or the city won't allow you to remove those trees because of, permits. So what is your strategy to unblock those trees and keep that growth mindset when there are powers outside of your control that impact your vision?
Yeah, there's always going to be powers outside of the control that are going to impact the vision. Even within like launching a business or within your own organization, there could be some compliance challenges, or there could be something else, or people who just don't believe in the vision altogether. If it's the latter, people don't believe in the vision, my strategy has been to build relationships and talk to those individuals from their point of view, from their perspective. How is this going to benefit multiple stakeholders? How can it benefit them as well? And what contribution can those individuals make in making a difference and making that vision actually happen? And it's not easy, and it takes a lot of time. And even with that, there's going to be a block. And there's going to be times where you're going to hear no. I've heard no. And in those cases, I listen sometimes and I say, okay, tell me from your perspective why you don't think this is going to work, or why you think another idea might be the right idea at the time. And I've listened to that, and I've taken that feedback to heart, and through growth mindset, and have redeveloped maybe new ideas or better ideas, or ones that can help mitigate or get around some of those blockages. So there's two different approaches that I've used, and one is building relationships. And then if it's still not working, understanding the why behind why that person is saying that. And I see in the chat too, the comment, I'm feeling so identified with the first image right now, is everybody does. Everybody does. And even through my experiences and getting to a certain goal, there's always going to be something else that is very hard and it's hard to get through. And I try to remember those past experiences. So this is just another way of visualizing the goal, like your end goal. You see your product launching. It could be that there's going to be a revenue stream, but that original idea, and this might also get to some of your question too, Jason, the original idea, when it's really, really good, is very mission driven. I've heard this from other people too about entrepreneurs who are so passionate and so successful. What it comes down to is always being very mission driven and staying with the mission. V2RF is a great example. We always start with the mission. I hear Winnie and I hear all of our colleagues always starting with the mission of the organization and why it helps the customer. It's very customer centric, and it's solving a problem that needs to be solved. It's filling a gap that needs to be filled. Then from that idea, thinking about that end goal, like I know why we have this idea, but we want that product to launch. We want the customers to be satisfied because it's customer centric. We maybe want to grow the market, and that's going to lead to additional revenue for the business. But it's not a straight path. And to Jason's point, and to the points I'm seeing within the chat too, it's not idea to end goal. There are so many ups and downs along the way that I've seen. I know from listening to all of you too, this is a true experience that happens. So with that, I'm going to now turn to cross-functional collaboration. So we've talked about growth mindset, the importance of always maintaining that growth mindset, even through the ups and downs, visualization within that growth mindset, seeing there's a block sometimes when things aren't working. Then all of a sudden you see the end of it, you move through those trees, you actually see the end goal. And because of the block to the end, to seeing the openings in the trees, there was growth mindset along the way. To get there, never straight. For the intrapreneur, and this is from my experience as an intrapreneur, cross-functional collaboration is so helpful. Cross-functional partners work together to get to that end goal together. But it's very important for the intrapreneur, the business owner, the entrepreneur to have that growth mindset and visualization throughout because of those ups and downs. Okay, thank you. Winnie, to the next slide. Thank you. So reaching that goal, as I mentioned, growth mindset and visualization throughout. That's going to help maintain the mindset of the business owner, maintain the mindset of the entrepreneur to get to the end goal. You have the idea, it's mission driven, it's customer centric, it's going to solve a problem with an organization. You see that end goal of the product launching, you see the revenue stream happening, you see the customers are very satisfied. But to get there, ups and downs. That's where the cross-functional partners with a business plan will bring everything to life. So here, within that, there's different ways to get there. And we're not going to necessarily go into all the details of a business plan today unless, we want to talk more about a business plan. This is just used as an example of a way to overcome some of those challenges. So a business plan is important for any business owner, for an entrepreneur, even for an intrapreneur within an organization, showing that the end goal is going to reach what you want. There's going to be a successful product that launches. It's going to lead to a revenue stream. It might solve a problem within an organization for efficiencies. Customers are going to be satisfied. The business plan has to be written in order to demonstrate this. So throughout this plan, throughout the ideation to the end goal, developing a business plan, testing and improving the idea with colleagues. So one thing to Jason's great question before is, before even starting anything, vetting the idea, going to colleagues and saying, what do you think about this idea? If you're an IT professional, if your colleague is an IT professional, this could help benefit the IT department in this way. Or we need the IT department's collaboration in this way, and this is why it's going to benefit the whole organization. Maybe going to a finance colleague and saying, I want to build this up. I want to know what the potential revenue stream is going to be. I need to get your input on this. And then you're getting more buy-in by vetting this idea much earlier before the business plan even comes in place. And then developing the business plan. Biggest finding that I've had from my experience is, why is this the right idea versus other ideas? Lots of people have great entrepreneurial ideas within an organization, but why would this be the right idea? Why would we invest in this one versus other ideas? Then once that business plan is in place, and we'll talk a little bit more about those approaches to the business plan in a moment, presenting the business plan. And this is influencing decision-making on prioritization and resources. So if you're in your own organization, you want to make sure that you have all the resources that you need for this idea to be successful. So presenting that in a certain way. And then finally, and this is the most important part, once you get through that business plan, is working with your collaborators, because those collaborators are going to help you execute on your plan to get to that end goal. And they're going to have a lot of ideas. And it's important to keep that growth mindset and visualization, because that's where you might hear, no. Oh, actually, we thought we were going to move ahead with this, but we can't move ahead with this. And keeping that conversation open and those relationships, continuing to grow those relationships so you do get to your end goal. Okay, so the next slide it's a complex business plan. And we don't have to go into the details of the business plan. I think the next slide, Winnie. I can't see the next slide yet. There we go. Thank you so much. But the business plan itself does require cross-functional collaboration and cross-functional expertise, because to get a vision to reality, to get an idea to an end goal, there's a lot in the middle. And working with cross-functional partners, working with experts who understand product, who understand data and new data, who understand strategy, who understand finance, market, is going to help get this to the end. So that's where those very valuable relationships are so important as an entrepreneur, because all of these collaborators will say, oh, yes, we know that this could be a successful goal. We've worked with this individual. We know that this is going to be a successful product. We want to contribute to this product. We also know it's mission driven, always remaining on the mission and saying, we know that this is going to align to the company's goals. And then to the next slide, this is also showing the different parts of a business plan and who those people might be that have to come in at every point. So sharing the ideas with analytics, product management, thinking about a timeline with the operations team, the IT team, all the way to we have to market the product, working with the marketing team. We have to make sure we have the right talent to make this happen, working with human resources, all the way to the end goal of the product, where we work with a customer. We might work with a customer experience team or analytics to see how successful that product really was. So we need our KPIs for that product. And all throughout this, to get to that end goal, keeping that growth mindset, because there's the ups and downs in working with lots of different people. You might hear from executive leaders, oh, we have to go back and work on this a little bit differently. You might hear from customers, oh, now we there's something else that we possibly want to do, tweak the product. That visualization, growth mindset, and then the feedback from others is actually so valuable to get there. And it could take years. It could take a lot of years for an entrepreneurial goal to get there. It's certainly worth it, and it's expected. It's not expected that an entrepreneurial idea is going to launch and kick off within a couple of months. It's pretty complicated. And there's a lot of analogies to entrepreneurship and to starting a new business in that way that we can talk about today as well. Okay, to the next slide. Thanks, Winnie. So overall in entrepreneurship, you reach for that goal as far as the eye can see, and this is very similar to any owning a business as well. The idea and the vision is mission and customer-centric driven. Growth mindset is essential throughout the entire journey. Being open to feedback and change is very important, because the project will go sideways, it will go backwards, it will go up and down, and you will get a lot of feedback from a lot of different stakeholders. And some of that is really valuable to make sure that the product is the right product in the end. But keeping an eye on that outcome and welcoming all of this input is going to help bring that vision to life in many different ways. So with that, to the final slide, I just want to open it up to discussion now, because we've had some great discussion so far and really good questions about growth mindset, visualization, and cross-functional collaboration. I'd love to hear your experiences and how these practices may or may not be applicable in different situations in launching a business. Maybe having some conversations about the similarities and differences between intrapreneurship in your own organization, or entrepreneurship in a new business, or anything else you'd like to speak of. I'm really happy to answer any questions and have lots of discussion with all of you. Once again, this has been an honor. Thank you so much for having me today, and looking forward to the fireside chat part of this portion today.